Hey y'all, what's up? It's your boy Evan. Today I'm going to show you my process for sketching my favorite character from Legend of Korra, Meelo. Let's get started. So starting out, I like to just kind of like draw air circles just above my paper to kind of get a feeling for the shape that I like to begin with and a feel for like drawing a loose circle. And then when I like what I, feel in my hand and the motion, then I go ahead and lay the pencil down on the page and start making the initial strokes of the head shape. And now moving down to the body, the same thing. I like to go ahead and just be loose. And we're gonna put Meelo in a cool action pose where he's like, in like a defensive stand in one of his airbending poses. So get his leg over here. And this is how I normally sketch when I'm fleshing out a figure. This is kind of like a stick figure and it's nothing concrete. I'm still thinking as I'm, drawing on what I want to put down. I have a general idea of what I want it to look like, but I just kind of go wherever the feeling takes me. And I have some reference also that I'm looking at to go ahead and see how the figure looks in the animated series. And now it's moving on up to his face. I'm going to start putting in some details. And I'm going to like narrow down the focus and just go ahead and put his cheek in there. And then kind of just putting in his like an area, indicate where his nose is, and just building the drawing. Here are his eyebrows, and then kind of put in a general circle for his eyes. Another like circle over here, and just take my time with it. No rush. And I have some reference too for his face as well. Different expressions. He has very animated expressions. Meelo is truly a character who's very cartoony. He's the comic relief on the show, and that's why I like him, because of his personality. He's this ugly kid, who has a lot of passion, a lot of attitude, and never afraid to speak what's on his mind. Let me move it down, the camera up a little bit higher, move the drawing down some. So now it's going back on his nose and up here, and kind of get the shape of his head. His head is not fully round. It's like it's a block with a pointed end on the top. But he's also a kid, so you don't want to make his corners too angular or too, hard. You want to go ahead and give him, soft features and still round it out. And that's what makes, him have that innocent look and make him look like a child. Women and children tend to have the softer look. So just that children, their proportions are, their head is bigger than their, body compared to like full grown adults. And get his hairline in here. He doesn't have a lot of hair on his head. He's basically bald, but they have the shadow line on his head, on his hairline, to indicate where he has stubble on his head. Let me erase some of that line and kind of do it again. Not quite right. And you can take your time with this and find as much reference as you can. So Meelo has some very animated expressions. I love him. Who's your favorite character on Legend of Korra? The series had great animation. I wish there were more children in it, that they could kind of like play off of each other. All of Tenzin's kids, Meelo, Iki, and Janora. I would love to see more adventures with them, that would be kind of reminiscent of the original Avatar. So who's your favorite Legend of Korra character? So here we're just gonna go ahead and darken in his mouth here and fix his collar that's going around his neck. And I, don't have too much experience drawing their costumes, the airbenders' costumes. The airbenders' costumes are very intricate. I'm going to put in some pupil detail on his eyes. Yeah, so it's coming along pretty cool. And this is just my process. Once I have like you guys saw me put down the foundation, now I can go ahead and build from that and tweak and mold, almost like clay. So we're going to have his hand out here, and I'm going to be using my own hand as reference, looking at my own hand to kind of get the basic shape, the palm, the fingers, and the thumb on the corner over here on the side. And look at your own hand. You don't have to draw your hand exactly, but just kind of use the basic shape and the reference for it and whatnot. And just get more of that in here. And just kind of start drawing more of his arm. He has like his costume is tight around his forearm area, but it's very loose going back up around his bicep and his shoulder area. And that's where it can kind of get a bit tricky if you're not familiar with their costumes. So I definitely had to pull some reference to get the costumes quite right, because I'm not sure how that big, that red or brown flap in front of their chest goes. Now for his legs, you want to give him short legs, and that will show that he's younger. That's what children tend to have, shorter legs, big heads, and that gives them that cute factor. Let me clean my muted eraser. And then in this stance, you want to just go ahead and pull reference of either like kung fu poses of, men with their kung fu costumes on and outfits, and see how the wrinkles in the clothes go when a person is in this pose. I'm not drawing every single wrinkle, but it's good to have reference. And if you can't find anything online, then go ahead and stand in a pose like this. Ask your little brother or your sister, to put on some loose pants real quick and just take a picture of them and see where the major wrinkles are. I can't stress enough the importance of using reference, so you're not there just struggling, And Meelo is not like a generic superhero like Spider-Man or, Batman, where the costume is skin tight on their body and you're drawing a lot of muscles. It's not like that at all. So what you want to do is go ahead and have reference on how the clothes fold and fall around their bodies. And here I'm drawing that brown flap on his chest area and his upper body. But I don't want it to lay down. I want to give it some like movement, because there is air around him that he's going to be, using. He's going to be air bending. So you want to go ahead and make the clothes move. It's kind of like you wouldn't draw Batman with his cape just straight down unless he was simply standing. But if he was in motion, Batman's cape is kind of like a second character that's attached to him. It also, conveys movement. And now moving to his right hand, gonna put like a tiny fist over here and get just the fingers. I won't have to draw the fist because his hand is so small. I'm just gonna kind of like draw the fingers in like a fan folding pattern, so like folding out, and then quickly put his thumb down there. Yeah, it doesn't have to be super detailed because we're not going to see much of it. Just kind of draw the fingers, basically. That's all you're drawing. And then kind of just go around and flesh out his head a little bit more. Let me kind of erase it. It needs to be a little bit more round. And now coming back down to his legs, we can go ahead and now put in his lower left leg. And get his foot out here. Foot's a basic, triangular shape. But I don't want to make it too big. He's not a big kid. He's still a little kid. At least the version I'm doing here. This is before he got older in the second season of, or rather the latter season of Korra. Let me erase it. And this is what you do when you draw. You're going to go ahead and erase and change things up. Nothing comes out correct the first time. And here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and flesh in more of that, and now make the foot smaller, because the foot being smaller, that makes him that much cuter, and it makes him younger. So yeah, now we're gonna go ahead and change this other foot over here, give him a little bit of a calf muscle. I don't know if he has calf muscles, if you can see him, but don't shoot me. This is where you go ahead and change your characters up, and you can try and like fake it. And notice how I'm drawing the folds around here on his pants. So they're very loose and baggy. They're not form-fitting to his body. And kind of just turn it to make sure I can kind of be comfortable with it and whatnot. So yeah, and then just get those folds going in there correctly. And this takes practice. You won't get this right on the first time. If you've never drawn wrinkles on clothes, you got to go ahead and practice this. Find some clothes and start practice drawing the major wrinkles and folds that are in the clothes. Now I'm going to come back up to his collar area and kind of put some shadow inside, darken in the parts that need to be darkened, the values in there, and just going over the drawing and just kind of getting the curves out here, and make his nose cuter by putting the curve on top of the tip of his nose, and darken his eyebrows a little bit more, and then kind of give a little bit of a wrinkle, around his eyebrow area to make him look fierce looking, and just finish up some simple, finger lines on his hand. Looking at my hand again, I might put in a few, lines. Just looking at my hand and just getting that butt of his thumb in there. And now I'm going to put like a simple cast shadow, just kind of like makes him, solid and solidifies him in the drawing. It gives it a little bit more depth. And it doesn't have to be this dark, so I'm going to kind of lighten it up a little bit. And now I'm going to have him butt farting. Or they call it, fart bending. Yeah, fart bending, the new sport. So I'm going to have him passing gas. So the air will be coming from behind his butt and kind of like he's bending it up from his butt, curving it up rather. Might make it thinner, indicate, smaller lines to show like a wind tunnel. And then I want to go ahead and have it, he's going to bring it up in front of his hands to go ahead and push it out to vanquish his enemies. And just kind of just use circular motions to create a wind tunnel. It's almost like a cone you're going to be doing, but stay very loose with the side of your pencil. You don't want to be tight using the point of your pencil to do this portion. And I'm going to go ahead and erase some of this to go ahead and make it even more organic and fluid. So let's try it again. Yeah, that's better. It's, you get more random circles. And that's how air moves. It's more random. It's not so geometric. So I didn't want it to be too much of a spiral. And so go ahead and give him a dark shadow on the front of his figure, keeping his eyes, keeping the white of his eyes, and getting in the harder, core shadow on the outline. And just kind of quickly just put this in, nothing hard, and keeping a rim light on the outside of his body. And there you have it. That's Meelo, the fart bending champion. So who's your favorite character from Legend of Korra? And if you're still having a hard time coming up with your own superhero body, then click the link below in the description and get my free superhero mini course. Get started right now. Don't wait.